Chichester for 6 years. The Festival Theatre has been here for 30 years. Shipham's Meat Pastes have been here for 200 years. The Dukes of Richmond and Gordon have been here for 300 years. The Romans started it all a very long time ago. We all like it here. And we're going to try and tell you why. It was a local optician who first dreamed of creating the Chichester Festival Theatre. It opened in 1962 and it's been a fabulous success ever since. Spartacus keeps militant watch over us. He always reminds me of Jon Snow running up to bowl. Last year, with a gala evening, we all celebrated 30 years of continuous artistic and commercial success. On the whole, a rare combination in British theatre, and almost unique outside London. It was the Festival Theatre which first brought me to Chichester, and, well, I fell in love with the place, and I decided I wanted to stay. Princess Alexandra, who laid our foundation stone, was the guest of honour. And the present artistic director, Patrick Garland, like his predecessors, has never had difficulty in attracting the theatrical greats either. The very first director, in 1962, was Laurence Olivier. His Desdemona was Maggie Smith.
If after every tempest comes such calms, may the winds blow till they awaken death, and let the labouring bark climb hills of seas Olympus high and duck again as low as hells from heaven.
The heavens forbid but that our loves and comforts should increase, even as our days do grow.
Amen to that, sweet power.
Goldsmith's She Stoops to Conquer was one of last year's triumphs. And I can only hope that Shaw's play Getting Married, in which I'm appearing this year, will go down as well as this. The theatre, like the city itself, engenders great affection. We've all come here because we love the place.
Christmas play, wasn't it? Christmas readings and things and poetry. All that kind of thing they were doing, yes. With Dinah Sheridan, who was getting married.
I read.
In America. In America.
The theatre's fame is international, but its success has always been underpinned by local support and funding. It receives no government grant, and the local hotels and restaurants benefit from the influx of 1,400 theatregoers nightly.
Now you all got to sing. Ready, go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chichester. Happy birthday to you. Hooray!
The cathedral and the city are laid out on medieval lines, and there's a simplicity of design, circular city wall, the cross in the centre, which still defines the city's character today. Member of the Chichester Society and former secretary of the Royal Fine Arts Association, Freddie Fielden explains.
I mean, here we have still the idea of the medieval city. It's still encircled with its wall, and although quite a lot lives outside it now, I mean, there's a lot of development without, but the town centre is circled by this, and you can walk right round Chichester in half an hour. And very pleasant.
But isn't it nice that we've got something left from medieval times?
It is.
And here we are in the 90s still making use of it and enjoying it.
Yes.
And when the staff of Marks and Spencer have a fire drill, they use the medieval hospital of St. Mary's. A perfect example of the 13th century still working in the 20th. After all, the hospital was established to help poor persons of good character.
Can I have a show of first aid boxes, please? Right. Thank you.
A medical tradition 800 years old. A haven of tranquility, St. Mary's is part chapel and part residential home. All material comforts are provided. Spiritual welfare is the province of the Custos, Bishop Knapp Fisher, who takes prayers for the residents every morning.
O Lord, open our lips,
And our mouths shall show forth thy praise.
glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Heating was put in as recently as 1680, but the tradition of Custos goes back in an unbroken line to 1249. "12 ladies actually live in self-contained flats down either side of the infirmary hall." Hello, good morning. Mrs. Griffin, isn't it?
That's right.
Yes. May I come in and have a look at your kitchen? It's wonderful. It's absolute. You've got everything here. The cooker and the fridge freezer, store cupboard. Oh, and, of course, no roof. You've got the wall to the neighbours over there.
That's right.
Like over the garden wall.
Yeah.
I wonder, might we have a look inside your flat?
And mind your head as you come in.
Yes, I
It's
will.
very
Thank
nice.
you for reminding me. Thank you. Well. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Well, isn't this wonderful and snug? Gosh. How does it feel to be living in a place like this where you know that for 700 years other women have lived? Isn't that a pretty extraordinary thought?
Well, it has its own ghosts.
Ghosts? Have you actually seen ghosts here?
Yes, several.
Really? Whereabouts?
In this room,
In this room?
in the chapel,
Yeah.
and in my bedroom. One time I had demons used to come and screech at me at night time. They were really horrible.
What sort of shape did they take? Did they have a physical shape?
Big pointed ears and snouted noses. And couldn't say the body, that sort of drifted off. Just these terrible faces came back.
You must have been absolutely terrified.
It was terrifying.
What did you do when this was happening? I mean, when it first happened, did you get up and rush out screaming or what?
No. One is not brought up to scream when one is half Scottish. Anyhow, one night I had enough of it and I thought, this is really silly. I've got the cure in my own hands if I only make use of it. And I said, in Christ's name, I command you to go and stay away forever. And I meant it, every word I said. I never believed it. And they've not come back.
I wonder if the same approach would work on dinner party guests who stay too long. Life is a little more ordered in the world of cathedral campanology. I myself rang bells when I was a boy. Getting the rhythm right can be a very tricky business. 20 ringers meet every week, but for a beginner, it can take a while to get the hang of it.
A little bit of tension on the rope all the time.
Yes, I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rope go up.
And I must look up whatever happens.
Please don't.
Yes, I see.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not looking up, so.
Yeah.
But I'm.
Yeah, because
Okay.
actually, when you're really ringing,
That's the right
you're looking at
strength.
each other, see where,
Yes.
where you're all going.
That's the right strength. That was the balance. Did you feel the
Yes, I
vibration of
did.
the balance?
It's
there?
very much a rhythm. I got the balance then. Yes,
That's
it's very
right.
much a rhythm thing. Isn't
Okay. It depends on how hard I pull it up
Yeah.
as to whether it reaches the balance or not.
Oh, I see.
I'm deliberately not pulling it too hard.
Yeah. It's best to start young. How long have you been doing this, Stephen?
5 to 6 weeks.
5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
You're doing very well. What made you think it was a good idea?
Well, my friend Andrew, he
Oh, your friend
asked
is...
me to come along.
Uh-huh. How old are you?
13.
13. What do you like about the bell ringing?
Well, the whole of Chichester can hear me.
What?
The whole of Chichester can hear me.
Yes, they certainly can. Centuries of tradition. And another name, which rings a bell, is Shipham's Meat Pastes, potted here since 1786. It's still the city's biggest employer, and complaints from the locals about strange, unpleasant, foody odours are greeted with the riposte, some people just don't like the smell of good cooking. Their original Southern television advert was a particular favourite of mine.
Ship and faith have a family tradition. That is why we are in good condition. Something pure and fresh to your table. As we take
Run by the same family for 200 years, aimed at a family market. This is truly a family business.
So, they tell me that a lot of your family work here as well. Who are they?
I have my husband working here, my daughter, my husband's two sisters, one of their husbands, my daughter's husband, his father, his brother and his son, and I also have a cousin working here.
I think your family's responsible for keeping Shipham's going by the sound of it.
tomatoes ripe.
But here they've learnt to mix tradition with the very latest gastronomic fashions.
What are you actually doing here?
Today we're making some Mexican products, and this is a guacamole.
Mexican products?
That's right, yeah.
Created here in Chichester.
That's right. It's,
yeah.
It's quite hard to imagine that a jar of hot taco sauce would come from somewhere like Chichester.
Cheers. That is magnificent. It could do, I think, with a little more hot sauce, perhaps. Now, I'm told by Cheryl that chicken supreme, once it's been heated in the can to a given temperature, it is absolutely safe forever.
The can which you have there, actually, is 30 years old to this day.
Really?
Yes. Would you like to try some of it?
Yes, I'd love to. Well, I think I'd love to. 1962.
1962.
Latest in the family line, Charles Shipham, known as Big Jim to his employees.
Now comes the moment. I must say, it looks all right.
There it's been since 1962.
Fresh as an egg. Would you mind trying it first?
Not at all.
I mean, I'm sure it's absolutely wonderful.
Looks jolly good to me, I must say.
Yes, it does. It smells very good, too. All right.
Yes.
Any? You sure you're feeling all right, Jim?
Fine.
That's remarkable. 30 years. 1962 was a great vintage for chicken supreme.
Chichester has many vintage facades, both Tudor and Georgian. Pallant House is Queen Anne. It has been faithfully restored to its original state as the residence of its builder and first owner, Henry Peckham. A wine merchant descended from an archbishop, Henry epitomized the spirit of Chichester life. The secret of the modern city's success has been its conservation of the past. There are more listed buildings to the square mile in Chichester than anywhere in the country outside London. And a classically proportioned Queen Anne house in Chichester would, of course, have a classic view of the cathedral itself. The tradition of fine wine merchants continues with the firm of Arthur Purchas. Founded as recently as 1780, sadly, this is now one of the few remaining family-owned and run shops left in the city. As the national and even international multiples take over our high streets, it's somehow very reassuring when examining a bottle of house wine to see a picture of the house on the label. The present incumbent of the House of Purchas is Christopher Purchas. Doing business under the gaze of one's forebears is becoming increasingly rare.
Years ago, there used to be many family businesses, which was common to all cities. But gradually things have changed, and I mean the introduction of supermarkets has been the biggest and the most definite change. I think it's sad. I mean, it's a way of life which is gradually... They always used to say we were a nation of shopkeepers. There are not an awful lot of them left now.
The Purchases have some very good local connections. Goodwood Racecourse is on a hill above the city. It's just one part of the Goodwood estate, which has belonged to the Dukes of Richmond and Gordon for 300 years. Luckily for Mr. Purchase, the ducal cellars need replenishing at pretty regular intervals. The present Duke is very active in Chichester life, but is far from a soft sell when it comes to fine wines.
Christopher, when you're selling wine to His Grace, how do you conduct it? In fear and trembling?
Not in fear and trembling. It's usually, and always is, a very pleasant meeting between the two of us. The nice thing about the wine trade is it's not quite like selling nuts and bolts. You can always draw a cork and have a little tasting. I mean, this tends to make life rather more pleasant.
Both your highly traditional families have made this transition from tradition to very pronounced modern success, if I may say so, both of you, in business. What is the secret of this success?
Well, I think the secret of the success, if that's what it is not just due to me. It's due to several generations of my family. And really, many of those generations have always been contemporary men. They've been involved in local life, they've been involved in parliamentary life, and they've been involved in more recent times in trade of one sort or another. In fact, I remember my father telling me that he was in the retail car business in London. I remember him telling me that when he came to see his grandfather and to tell him about his engagement to my wife, his grandfather said, "And I suppose you'll be living over the shop." Because trade may have been all right for the Purchase family at that time, but it certainly wasn't all right for a ducal family.
Absolutely not. If I may say so, you, Christopher, have contributed greatly to the gaiety and conviviality, clearly. What do you think your family's contribution?
I hope we've contributed to the fun, as a matter of fact, because the racing, as I'm always telling people in horse racing, is meant to be fun, you know. Sometimes they take it much too seriously, in my view.
Horse racing, motor racing, flying. Goodwood and Chichester have style. A meeting of vintage racing cars is another excuse to do what Chichester does best: recreate the past. The Duke's son, the Earl of March, took me for a spin in the 1950s C-type Jaguar that won Le Mans. Yeah. Chichester is one of the few cathedral cities very close to the seaside. We really are spoilt for expensive things to have fun in. Recession. What recession? Jonathan Dodd runs a local charter firm.
This looks like a pretty wealthy paradise for people. Like what sort of people come down here? What sort of people have yachts in this place all around here?
Chichester Yacht Marina.
Yeah.
One of the two biggest on the south coast of England, actually, relating to the city. I would say most of the people live in Surrey and Sussex, I think, who have boats here, and obviously there are quite a few from London.
Millions of pounds worth of yachts by the look of it.
Probably,
yeah. Absolutely.
Long ago, merchants could watch their ships coming in from the city walls.
What sort of trades would come up and down here?
There was a fair amount of wine trade coming up in the old days.
Yeah.
But that ceased some considerable time ago.
What about the sort of people who are, you know, one thinks of as the gin and tonic people, the Greenbelt gin and tonics, you know, the Surrey cocktails, I mean?
I think it's related a little in the industry to the powerboat fraternity being more gin and tonic-y, but I don't think that's necessarily true.
Yes.
We all like to have a wee tipple on our boats, whether we be sail yacht owners or powerboat.
Yeah, what
Even the sun seems to shine more here. I call the whole area the magic bubble. And there's a man who moved down here who should know. He needs very clear skies, not only during the day, but particularly at night.
I always wanted to come here.
Yeah.
It's good weather, of course, and pleasant people.
Ah,
this is
yes.
my main observatory.
That's wonderful.
15-inch. Looks like an oil drum, doesn't it?
I was going to say, it looks exactly like an oil refinery.
It does indeed.
Miniature oil refinery.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
Turn the light on inside.
Right.
Come in, have a look.
Great, thank you.
And this is my main observatory, and this is my main telescope, the 15-inch reflector. It looks an old telescope. Actually, it's not. It's not an old one. So let's get into action, shall we? First thing, open up the dome, which is a very easy thing to do. First of all, the window open like that. And next we open the actual slit so we get the entire sky, which is very easy to do, this one. We designed this. Designed by the local blacksmith, I may say. It works very well.
Really?
Well, here, he designed it for me.
He designed it for you?
Yes, I'm no good with my hands.
Yeah.
Saturn is in the southeast, so we've got to move the dome round. So you like winding of the tank. It should be about right, I think. For the main telescope here, a small finder telescope to help you locate what you're going to look at. Saturn, in our case, in a minute or two.
Oh, that'll be wonderful. Tell me, why did you move down here?
For two reasons. First of all, I've always known Sussex. I've always liked it, and I knew many people here. That's one reason. And secondly, of course, it is a very, very nice climate by the British standards. So have a little mini-climate down here that encompasses Sussex and Bognor, just the general area. Why King George V came down here made that rather unfortunate remark about Bognor Regis. Because I am, in fact, the local net station. I'm station 5300770. And I took I take the readings for the Met Office.
And you report in?
I do, the temperatures and rainfall. And on the whole, we get rather less rainfall, rather more sunshine here than most other places in the world.
Yes. I came down here for the beautiful sunny days, and you came down here for the clear sky at night.
And also, of course, from my own point of view, we're right on the end of the peninsula here, and there's sea on three sides of me. Now, light pollution is getting a really serious problem, but I'm better off than most people because I've got a certain bit of Aurora Bognor Regis in the north and not much else. So, shall we have a go with the telescope?
Oh, yes, please.
What would you like to see?
I would love to see Saturn.
Saturn, well, we can say, we'll get the eyepiece ready. Have to turn the lights out, obviously. Got a little red light here.
Yeah.
Right, line the telescope up by using the finder, it's like that. Yeah. And if you look through there, you will see Saturn.
Good heavens. That is absolutely magnificent.
Back on planet Earth, Chichester seems stuck in something of a time warp. It's a pedestrian sort of place, which is, after all, what it was designed to be. It's as if the motor car was just a brief 20th century aberration. But Freddie Fielden thinks there's a rather unhealthy yearning for the ancient rather than the modern.
The trouble is in this sort of city that there's an undue hankering for the past, and to a great extent for a past that never existed. You know, a love of oldie worldliness. Yes. And I think many people will be rather shocked. You see, here is the sort of thing where every object in the window is a picture of Victorian England.
Chichester has come to grips with the 20th century in its own special way.
Now, what about this building, Freddie? McDonald's in a Victorian setting.
Well, it's a good early Victorian building. Was the Corn Exchange, was boarded up. Well, the first 5 years I was here. Yeah. It's now McDonald's. We opposed it quite vigorously, but it's come off very well. It's a social centre.
Yes.
It's used and it's lit up at night and looks very good.
Chichester is a delightful place. The city and its surroundings seem to me to be blessed.
Because the whole business of walking is one of the great joys of Chichester. You can walk anywhere.
Yes.
I hardly use my car.
And all because the city was originally laid out on medieval lines.
Well, it was Roman lines first, wasn't it? And then...
were the Romans actually... were they within the walls?
Oh, yes, they were within the walls, yes. And in fact, you could hardly dig anywhere.